Hello guys, my name is Amit Sani and I welcome you in this daily Hindu analysis video. In the morning these videos come, in the evening the MCQ lessons they come, and 13th of July all the facts, all the important details we are discussing as questions, and that is the best way question and their explanations. So please follow that lesson religiously in the evening. That comes daily, and the Hindu comes Monday to Saturday. So the prelims result is also out, and it is the time when you have to stick to the articles, the core understanding of those things, and more you understand, more you can concise your answer, more your expression would be appropriate and up to the mark. So that is the important thing, and don't create a balloon of your thinking regarding the answer writing there, because it is just your understanding and your simple expression should be simple. Remember that there is a limited time, and simple expression would work there, but the extreme level of understanding is the necessary condition there. So that's the case, and that's why these articles are extremely important. The Pocket News app is on trending on Google Play, and these affordable courses, the description is given below the video. You can call on these numbers, you can visit the website also. All the confusion regarding all the courses you can clarify there, and this is the group where I upload the PDF. You can get there, and Telegram's link is also given there. If you cannot find PDF there on the Facebook page, then on the Telegram channel you can get them. So that link is also given there. You can follow me on Instagram too, and this is the link. You can type on the internet also for the Telegram's link. These are the words that I found today. And ISRO's lunar touchdown has dry run soil fest from Tamil Nadu. You see, Sun has a unique surface. Chandrayaan 2 is going to be launched now. GSLV Mark 3 will take it. So some testings are extremely necessary. Moon has no atmosphere, very scanty atmosphere is there, and that's why that particular resistance of the atmosphere, that is not there. So everything is hitting directly to the surface there. So that's why we need to do a lot of experiments. So important components like the launcher, this GSLV Mark 3 is important. Orbiter, the unique thing, and the most what we must say simplest thing of all. And usually orbiters, they orbit the particular celestial body, maybe it's a planet or it's a moon. The most unique thing is the lander Vikram, and that is the biggest highlight, that is the biggest upgradation here. We will do soft landing. Soft landing means very easily it will land on the surface, and it will balance itself and it will not hit the ground. And soft landing on the South Pole, and that is also for the first time that is happening. Any lander is landing on the South Pole, and it's a soft landing also. And the rover Pragyan, that will move on the surface. It's like a cart, and it will give all the information, communication it will do with the ground facilities here. And these terrains and these terrain experiments are being checked here in the LTTF, the Lunar Terrain Testing Facility, that is there in ISITE. ISITE is there in Bengaluru, and the parent organization for ISITE is it is UR Rao Satellite Center, or URSC. So these details may be asked, and it will reach on the moon surface. It will get a soft landing, and after that a lot of details we will have, because Chandrayaan 1 was sent in 2008, and important discoveries it did, like the under surface water is there, and all these issues it were discovered by this Chandrayaan 1, and now Chandrayaan 2, mission Moon 2.0 we can call it. Next, about the articles, only one article is important today, and that's why it's a small issue today. Second article is regarding the Iran situation, and that is all the repeated issue and everything we had discussed in the past. So this article we will focus on, important for GS paper 1, 2, 3 and the essay topic. And essay topic means because education is something that changes the trajectory of the society. So the goal is of a great society is also taken here. As we all know, the knowledgeable society is the goal here, and Indianness is also searched here. So the knowledge society goal will serve all the purpose, but it is not that much a simple thing, because it is the basics of the society. And when we are changing something and deciding a policy regarding the basics, then a lot of discussion is needed. And when the issue of a draft policy talks about the clarity in understanding, there are some problems, and regarding that the writer Rohit Dhankar is talking about. He says that although it talks about very important goals and game changing things are there, and certainly it can add and it can upgrade the education level a lot, but some confusions remain because the upper primary standard and the language formulas and the important abstract issue of it means what we are going to achieve, that is clear, but how we are going to achieve, the way we are going to implement it, the way we are going to execute the plan, and the way authorities will understand those goals, the ways and the way they will implement it, there are some confusions are there. Otherwise it's a good document, it's a great document, and first time after 2-3 decades we have this great opportunity because it is the changing times, internet, digital revolution, everything is there, and kids are experiencing everything in a different way, and these are different kids today because their life is totally changed. In the starting 10 years they are accessing mobile phones, internet also, they know about the mobile apps, computers, everything, and it was not the situation in 80s and 90s. That was totally a different time. So that's why we need to go in a different domain here, and in this age how we can maintain those qualities, those traditions, those particular value systems, how we can get a conservation in this in the education policy, and how we can make them important and keep them relevant with the students in the schools. So that is the biggest goal here, and that's why it's a game changing situation. So that's why it's a essay topic, very very important essay topic, and you can write a huge essay, 1250 words essay you can write here, maybe 2500 words essay also you can write here. So it's a important point, and as much information as you can collect regarding the education policy and the important points that you should have, and here an important angle is given. He says that it recommends many important issues, it may help education here, but it also recommends some confusions because they become confusion, they are not in a appropriate way, and they are not posed in such a way, and that can bring a opposite effect also. It says that it's a motley of a variation of the subjects because 15 subject courses are at upper primary level, and 3 languages in early childhood education. 3 language formula has been here, and much discussion has gone there, but it's like a laundry list, and perhaps because of a lack of coherent vision and the curricular thinking it adopts. Curriculum is the ultimate aim, that what kind of curriculum is there, and this policy will impact each and everything. What kind of phenomena we want to introduce here, what kind of basic understanding in the early years of a student we want to give it to, and in which way we want that student to be interested to. So that's why. So it talks about 21st century skills, but it says that the India centric aim we are getting here. But what is Indianness in that? Although they are talking about Indian languages, and some mention of the Indian knowledge systems are also there, but not in a practical sense. In an operational sense, it is more dependent on the UNESCO preached 21st century skills and the knowledge society goal. So everything looks similar to those aims. So thing is that what is the need of calling everything Indian and maintaining those connections to the tradition, to the Indianness, and that political campaign we have seen, that patriotism in everything, and in the budget you introduced the Bahi Khata there. So those connections they want to maintain everywhere, but in a practical sense it is no more an Indian idea, it's a global phenomena, because UNESCO is a global phenomena, and we all know internet has made this word a global village, and that's why the education would also be like that. But how much conservation can be there for the Indianness there, that is also a confused thing here. And the vision of knowledge society directly leads to the objective of a curricular transformation. We know it will bring the transformation there, and to minimize rote learning, that is a good issue, and instead of that you encourage holistic development and 21st century skills. But you see, the problem is that in the name of 21st century skills, they are putting everything in the skills domain. Till the time today, if we call it as a skill, then these are more discussed in a job seeking sense. Now everything you are putting in the skills domain, And in this age, you see, we know the fast word is there. Governance is e-governance now. Word is digital word now, and things are more soft in a sense. But putting everything in a skills domain, how you are going to justify that? How you are going to separate things? How you are going to make them understand? And although you may call it skill in a sense, like reasoning, ethical reasoning, being knowledgeable, and a sense of aesthetics and knowledge of critical issues, ethical reasoning, scientific learning, you can call all of these things a kind of a particular skill, but it is not justified every time, and it may create a lot of confusions. It says that some learnings and integration of essential subjects and skilling is important, so that's okay. So we need to learn some subjects here, and that will make them good, successful, innovative, adaptable, and productive human beings. But the writer raises an important question here, that there is no mention of being critical thinker. It is more talking about being adaptable, means adaptation and following is more important here, and they are not talking about the important critical thinking aspect here, and that is utmost necessity today, because what is lacking in India today, it is intellectual crisis, and we need to improve this thing, and it should start from the schooling. And even the phase 3 to 6 years of preschool learning, there we should start this issue of critical thinking, and that analytical approach is actually very, very necessary, and that will bring all these things realized, like compassion that you are thinking, and morality, ethical sense, ethical reasoning, ethical rationality, all these things will be achieved by that, but that thing is not mentioned here. So what is the problem in India? If you are not mentioning that thing, something in a basic policy or the law document, then that will not be realized later in the practical sense, and they will always refer to that particular document, and they will say that that critical thinking approach is not mentioned there. So there may be many misuses there, and there may be some distortions of the actual ways, the appropriate ways. So that is the problem. Tomorrow, maybe intentionally they want to introduce some controversial things, like they want to remove the secular aspect, then these things can be used there. So sense of aesthetics is finding a mention here, ethical reasoning is finding a mention here, compassion, curiosity. But how, and how scientific thinking will develop the compassion, that is beyond somebody's understanding, because at a basic level, understanding compassion through scientific thinking is okay, but if you ignore the social aspect, the socio-political aspect of this country, and the secular aspect of this country, then compassion cannot be brought up here as a deep understanding. Why? Because first thing is the tolerance, then acceptability, then comes the compassion issue. That is the way of it, that is the direction of it. Without talking about the particular tolerance thing, the acceptance thing, and the secular aspect, how you can define compassion in somebody's mind, and how they can understand a deep learning about the subject, because compassion is also a subject for a child. So that is why. And when they call everything evidence-based scientific thinking, they add evidence-based every time, and the writer says that this sentence doesn't look to me evidence-based, because in which way you are defining things here, it's more of a confusion than a clarity. And it is interesting that evidence-based scientific thinking is supposed to help create an ethical, rational, and compassionate individual, but not a logical and problem-solving people. So being ethical and compassionate comes from logical and problem-solving approach. We need to be logical first. If somebody is logical, then the person can become compassionate and appropriate in its ways, and his social learning, political learning, his inclinations would be clear. Otherwise, without being logical and without being a problem identifier and without being solution giver, a person cannot be complete. And that is the problem that we see today. The way people are behaving, the way they are talking about religion, the way they are talking about leadership, the way they are hailing some nonsensical people, the people who are raising issues of Godse being national and Gandhi being anti-national. These all things are related to being logical here. That is the way. Is it logical to call Gandhi an anti-nationalist? Is it logical to call aggressive ways to save the religion in modern times? Is it logical? That we need to decide here, and that's why being logical is finding no mention here, and that's why it's a confusing document. Moreover, a confusing document, that is something that writer is saying. And here he says that the document which places much emphasis on clarity of understanding and critical thinking cannot itself afford to fail in meeting the same standard. So it should not fail here, and it's a good document, and these clarities should be there. Otherwise, it would fail. That's the case. And regarding the language formula, there is also a confusion. It says that from 3 to 6 age, they would teach reading the script and reading, but only at the age of 6 they will be able to write for the first time, and at the age of 8 they will have the textbooks. So it is not rhythmic in a sense, because students and actually the kids, the 5-6 year old kids, they are very fast these days. Their grasping power is drastically improved, and they are very much communicative and responsive. So why you are waiting? Why there is a 3 years gap? It should not be there. They should start writing at the age of 4-5 years also, maybe at 3, because they can learn, they can adapt in a very fast way. And till the age of 8, they must be at a stage where they can comprehend things. That is the important thing. And the draft policy stipulates that mandated contents in the curriculum will be reduced. That is okay, but how and which way you are going to do that, that confusion remains. And that's why additional things like critical issues, moral reasoning, and other additional 6 important courses and subjects that you have introduced in this draft, how you are going to implement that. And if the core issue mandated content is going to be reduced, then in which way you will realize the importance, you will make them learn in a realistic manner. That is important. You see, this article is talking about an abstract issue, so it's a very difficult thing to grasp, and I know some of you people finding it very difficult. It's a confusing article actually, but listen carefully. Every line is important here, because when these are abstract issues but so sensitive issues, it is talking about the educational issues, so psychological issues will also be discussed here. So that is the case, and plenty of ideas are being discussed, but we have to reach up to the goal, the aim there, that a complete student should be in front of us after this holistic education. So this should find mentions regarding all basics, and first thing is being logical and being critical thinker. Otherwise it is of no use of that education. Without these two things, there's nothing you can get as a positive outcome. Next, classical languages and the Indian languages, they are separated, and they should be clubbed according to the writer. So there may be various opinions on the same issues, but it is talking about his ideas, so that's good. And the important thing, as I told you, secular characters are finding miss here, and it is not included. Social studies seem to be missing also, and the India's socio-political life is almost invisible. And without these things, you cannot make them understand the moralistic issues and the critical thinking approach, because these are practical examples, and if you keep them away, then you cannot really realize the goal here. And suppose example, if you're explaining somebody that what kind of headache is there, and if somebody has not had an experience of a headache, so how he would imagine that what kind of pain is there when somebody is having a headache, then what kind of pain that person is experiencing. That person cannot imagine that, because that person has not experienced that. So it is the same condition with that kid. If you're explaining somebody that when headache happens, the person loses its focus and it is all troubled and it cannot decide about something, and it will have anxiety, it will have a lot of anger, and it's all a debilitating state. But all these words are fine. That person knows all these subjects and lines, but real feeling of that pain cannot be there. So the same thing is there, and the real feeling and real approach cannot be developed with the miss of social studies, socio-political life, and the critical approach there. So the realistic issues can be included, and these should be included. And in the previous curriculum, some things were really good. If you look at the NCERT books, then examples are good there. So that's the case. So plethora of terms and half understood these are, and clubbed under the overarching master concept of skill. You can define something as a skill, but you cannot put everything under the domain of skill. It's a popular word, we all know, and this is the trend in India. Something is trendy, then apply it everywhere. But you cannot cover everything under the domain of skill in the draft national education policy. That is huge. You need to be specific here. And skill is also a word. It is also having its own significance and importance and the meaning. So you cannot put everything under the domain of skill. So that's the case, and you should write the essay here. This article we will not discuss because everything is discussed already 5-6 times earlier. And in the present situation where Iran has threatened to raise these limits and all, this thing is again explaining in a new way. But all things are repeated once, so you should go through it. Even with a single reading of it, you will understand each and everything. Okay, we will move this detail. I have also make you understood that the environment and the surface is different for moon. So these testings are important, and these testing centers and these important institutions, they may ask you question about where this eyesight is, where this USRC is, and how they are working, where these space application centers are there, how they are controlling these facilities, and in which city these are located. So various questions can be derived from there. Next, and we will discuss them in the evening lesson. So please do come there. India again abstains the UN vote, draws criticism. Again, the issue related to the Article 377, actually the Section 377 in the IPC. That was criminalized first, then Supreme Court in 2013 came up with a historical verdict, and Supreme Court said that it's not a criminalized section, and decriminalization happened for 377. That was utterly necessary, because the plight of these communities, these sexual minorities or these LGBT communities, many countries they are supporting their movement. It's a global movement, and many people are coming out, and it looks like their populations are huge, and people are suppressed because of the social stigmas, and that's why they were not coming out. But now when it gets a movement and it gets a legitimate support there, then people are coming in huge numbers, and their numbers are exceeding lakhs or maybe crores of people. So it's a huge thing, and all over this world many countries are finding this mentioned there, and they are accepting these existing ways but new expression. And India, Angola, Burkina Faso, Cameroon, these countries, they are abstaining from the vote, and that does not send a good message there, because many developed countries, legitimate countries, and they are accepted ways, they are recognizing that. So India also should recognize that, and abstaining and supporting some opposing moves, that is something really problematic from the India's side. So that is why it does not send a good message there. So this is all about that. Next, US will consider 301 probe on India. What is that? Section 301 is there in the US Trades Act in 1974. And here, when trade issues are going on, tariff issues are going on, so whenever they decide about the tariffs, before that they go with this section 301, and I'm calling it 301. So that 301 probe is necessary for that. So USA now says that it will consider a 301 investigation, a probe employed as a precursor to tariffs and other trade measures against a country. So it may be against India again, and many things we are experiencing. Many small tariff wars are going on, but they may be escalated to a next level. So that is going on. Next, China to impose sanctions on US firms for Taiwan arms sale. China says it is our part, and maybe we have to use force, but we will integrate it into our mainland. And US is getting advantage of this enmity. Actually, it's a kind of enmity, because Taiwan says we are an independent country, and we are a self-ruled country, and they have their own government systems. But China says that in a course of time we will integrate Taiwan here. But this kind of deal and interfering here in our nationalistic issues, and these what we can say, the geopolitical issues, and mainly the domain of sovereign issues, I must say. So China will not allow America to do that, and this arms deal is extremely problematic because America is provoking all these countries, and with China it is going with a lot of escalations, a lot of provocations. These tariff wars are going on, and the issue of Huawei is going on. 5G in the future is going to be a very, very sensitive issue. So in which way these things are going to be developed, it's a mystery for the world. But in addition to it, this $2.2 billion deal with Taiwan, it is raising a lot of alarms, and now China will impose a lot of sanctions on America. So already these companies are protesting against that. They are saying that they need to come to a compromising situation, and they need to solve this issue as soon as possible. But consistent provocations are there, and Taiwan is ready for this deal because Taiwan is also defying Chinese pressure there, and that is why it is embracing America there. But America is all for the advantage of their enmity. The way it is doing in South China Sea, the way it is doing in Indo-Pacific region, and it is all the same kind of moves there. Next, S-400 defense system deal, the missile defense system deal. Turkey is embracing that. Turkey has got this delivery, and Turkey is a ally there in NATO group, so it may be thrown out there. And F-35 fighter jets deal of America. Turkey may be out of that deal now because it's a very problematic thing for America. America would never want that any country get a deal from Russia, and this S-400 especially, because it's one of the most modernized defense system in the world, and many countries are interested in that. India has done this deal with this S-400 systems, and it was a bold move because it was not supported anywhere by USA, and they said that do not do this deal, otherwise many sanctions can be there. But we defied all those pressures, and you see countries like Qatar and Saudi Arabia also. Saudi Arabia is a strategic ally for America, but even it is interested in this S-400 deal because it's a better deal, and America poses many conditions, and those are not always good for countries, and the pricing issues are also there. So these countries want America to compromise on some issues, and that is why they are doing this lobbying, and this S-400 deal is kind of a leverage for these countries. So that is the case. China has done this deal, India has done this S-400 deal, and Iran, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, they are also interested. So that actually supports Russia's industry a lot, and you can see here Almaz Antai is the company. They may ask you about those details, and surely it is gonna disturb America in all the sense, because it is one of the most modernized system by Russia, not America, and that's why it has a blow to American industry there. Next, Anshula Kant is now World Bank MD and CFO. Earlier she was CFO State Bank of India, and now she's gonna bring this expertise in World Bank. So that's that's a proud moment for Indians, and she studied there in India only from Lady Sri Ram College of Delhi University and Delhi School of Economics, and now reaching up to World Bank Group is a prestigious and proud thing for us. Okay, and she would be the first woman CFO of the World Bank, so that is important. This is the situation in India. At one place in Assam, it's a flooding situation. People are dying and moving away from those areas because of the flood. And here in this area in Aurangabad, at the dead stock water level in Aurangabad, this dam should be filled at least for some inches, but it's all dry, and monsoon may bring a lot of vagaries and a lot of depression in India's economy, and in the green crisis it may add up a lot of suicides. It's a very dangerous situation because it's not raining in many cities, in many areas, and this area of Marathwada and Vidarbha, they are always struggling, and it's a problematic situation. So that is all for today, and thanks a lot. We will meet again tomorrow. Sorry, a day after tomorrow, because tomorrow is Sunday. But in the MCQ lesson, we will keep meeting.